Hello, friends. Today we are going to study something about the Bhagavad Gita and most primarily the second chapter of Bhagavad Gita. But before we move into the chapter 2 of the Bhagavad Gita, it becomes very important to understand why Gita and what is Gita. To understand the term Bhagavad Gita, we have to go to its Sanskrit root, which means Bhagavad means God, Geet means song, the song of the God. This means and indicates the words, the musical words that were said by God Himself. Now, when was the occasion for God to make His divine utterance, to make the utterance of the Bhagavad? This was the occasion of the big battle, which was the Mahabharata battle. And the Mahabharata is about a family which came into the state of strife. And this strife was caused because there was a conflict about possession of the earth. Several people, several ascetics, and great sages since time immemorial, and even people from all over the world, from the ancient ages to the modern times, have confessed and written very explicitly that the earth does not belong to us. We belong to the earth. But as the civilization of man came into existence and they started occupying those lands that were fertile, did the concept of the kings came, did the concept of the occupants of land came, and land has been a major cause of conflict for men. So, a story, a, a narrative which is about a war is an epic. And the big epic, the great epic from India after the Ramayana is the Mahabharata. It appeared in the Mahabharata that the world got split into two groups. One, the Pandavas, headed by and guided by the Bhagavat, that is Shri Krishna, and the other group, the Kauravas, possessing the Lord Krishna's army. So it becomes symbolic because an epic always suggests a battle between the good and the evil and always ends in the victory of the good. So the Pandavas symbolize the good and Kauravas symbolize the evil. The Pandavas being handful, much less, just 5 in comparison to the Kauravas who were 100. So 5 juxtaposed against the 100. The 5 who made a legitimate demand of the five provinces as against the whole Indian territory that was the lot of the Kauravas, which was denied. A legitimate claim upon a place for princes, for the children of the former king, is being denied. And this for the weakness in the minds of the people, lust for land. And it is here that God intervenes. An epic can be materialized only if God's partake in it. The magnitude of the battle is so immense that God's partake. And here it is Shri Krishna, the God, partaking. So, when the battle has been decided, and when the two parties, the Kauravas and Pandavas, face each other, the good one with Arjun at the core of it, Arjun, the third among the Pandavas, and who is a great warrior of immense might, immense faculties, and with Shri Krishna as his charioteer. When he casts a look upon the immense Kauravas, he can only see his Guru Dronacharya, his great grandfather Bhishma, his brothers, his relatives, all standing against him. And he, Arjun, in complete possession of his powers, in complete knowledge of the immense powers that he has, and with the confirmation that with Shri Krishna ahead of him, will definitely, and who, not definitely, but who could claim a victory. But the tattva of weakness occupies him, and he becomes ridden by dilemma and a great remorse also. Why should he, and for what end product should he fight against his kins? Why should he cause the bloodshed? Why should he go against the dictum of brotherhood? Why should he kill his teacher? Why should he raise a weapon against his most revered great grandfather? This dilemma in his heart is what piques us all at one point of the time or other. But then there is the God element. The music of dutifulness played by God Himself, played by Shri Krishna to take and to excite Arjun into action, because whatever happens, happens because it is a destiny. Because we are all instruments in the hands of the great power that is time. So this beautiful song, the songs, the teachings of Shri Krishna to the remorse-stricken, to the dilemma-stricken Arjun is what is compiled in the Bhagavad Gita. And the chapters which are cast in the Gita, of those we shall be studying the chapter 2. The second chapter in the Bhagavad Gita is entitled Sankhya Yoga. which is again from the Sanskrit root word Sankhya, which is from Sankhya, that is number, and Yog, which means unity, union. So, Sankhya Yoga means the union of numbers. Now, what are the numbers? The numbers are with regard to the number of realities, that is, tattvas, which are present in existence. To a layman, there are the Panch Tattvas, the five tattvas. But in Gita, there are several tattvas, and of which God is the primemost. So these tattvas are explained, which constitute the whole universe, which constitute the whole existence. Sankhya Yoga deals with the union or the combination of a number of hidden realities which are manifest in the existential reality. Now, these could be sounding to be words which are high flown or not read by you. And this, however, is a great tragic reality. We are perforce not trying to understand the ethics, the great substance which our Indian mythology, which our Indian thought has propounded. The hidden realities are the sense that is beyond the understanding of the five sense organs. That means the ultimate truth. So there is always a war between the body and the mind. The mind, which is the truth, and the body, which is the senses. So these are garbed, and this conflict it comes to surface when we want to find out our existential reality. Existential means because we all are wanting to know at some point of the time, we all want to know what is the meaning for which we exist, what is the purpose for which we exist. And all this, as Arjun was in a conflict as to know why was it for this that he had desired the war? Was it for this that he had decided to wage a war against his brothers? And what is he doing here? What is he standing in the battlefield for? The Kurukshetra. The Kuru is where you have to do. Kshetra is the area. So why do we come into the area of and the action? Why do we come there? Why do we want to make an action? All this is the Kurukshetra. We all have one existing before us. So when we'll read the Bhagavad Gita, the chapter 2 of the Bhagavad Gita, we will see that in the second chapter, the first 10 verses describe the disturbed state of Arjun's mind and his emotional arguments. So even in the battlefield where he is not giving it a mind. It is his sense organs. Because if he'll kill his own people, his eyes would be hurt. The sense of sight would be in pain. The sense of touch would be in pain if he sees someone wounded and if he wants to run a caressing finger on it. His ears would be disturbed by the screams of his own people. So in the same way, this all would be causing pain to his senses. So the verses 1 to 10 are about his emotional argument. The verses 11 to 39 contain the elements of the Sankhya Yoga, wherein we will see the reconciliation of the tattvas. कैसे ये संपूर्ण तत्व जिनसे ये समस्त ब्रह्मांड जनित हुआ है, जिनकी अभिव्यक्ति इस ब्रह्मांड में अलग अलग अनुपातों में दिखाई देती है, कैसे वे तत्व हमें, उनकी संख्या हमें प्रभावित करती है, ये हम उसके श्लोक 11 से लेकर 39 तक में पढ़ेंगे. एंड 40 to 72 deal with the practice of buddhi yoga or the yoga of intelligence. और 40 से लेकर 72 तक के श्लोक में हम बुद्धि योग को पढ़ेंगे. बुद्धि जो कि हमारे मन से परे, हमारे मन से ऊपर का एक अनुभूति है, उसके ऊपर का एक तत्व है जिसमें ईश्वर समाहित है. So that has been explained. And since intelligence is an aspect of prakriti only, प्रकृति क्या है? ये प्रकृति जो कभी नष्ट नहीं होती है. The law of conservation of energy, the law of conservation of mass that we read, इसमें जो कुछ भी प्रकृति में, ब्रह्मांड में जो कुछ है, ये कभी नष्ट नहीं होता. ये सिर्फ स्वरूप या आवरण बदलता है. बाहर से यह कुछ अलग अलग दिखने लगता है. सो सिंस दिस इज द इंटेलिजेंस इज द आस्पेक्ट ऑफ प्रकृति ओनली, वी मे कंसिडर इट एज एन एक्सटेंड एक्सप्लेनेशन ऑफ सांख्य योग ओनली और इट्स अप्लाइड डॉक्ट्राइन. It is particularly emphasized in the chapter because Krishna wanted Arjun to know the reason for his unstable mind. वह युद्ध जो मन से शुरू होकर और बुद्धि तक पहुंचना चाहता है, वहाँ पर हम कैसे हमारे मन और बुद्धि के बीच में एक सामंजस्य बनाएंगे. The mind could be tortured to see the inmates in blood, but the buddhi will tell that whether you partake or not, if prakriti has decided, if nature has decided it would be destroyed, then it would be destroyed. A similar kind of understanding has been given by the great poet Emerson in his poem, which he takes from the Vishnu Puran and which is entitled Brahma. The Prakriti, the first element, the first and the foremost element, that is the Brahma, the God himself, who says that if the red slayer thinks that he has slain, or if the slain thinks that he has been killed, they know not well the subtle ways. It is I who initiated. That means the buddhi, the analyzing power has to somewhere understand the utterances, the divine utterances of God that have been proclaimed since time immemorial. ये काल जिसने अनेक अपने हर ठहराव पर, अपने हर पड़ाव पर सिर्फ यही अभिव्यक्त किया है कि जो भगवान का गीत है वही परम है, वह हमेशा शाश्वत है, और जो होना है, जो हो रहा है, वो वो कालातीत है, वो हमारे इंद्रियों के परे की बात है. वह केवल सम्यक बुद्धि से इसकी संख्या, इसके अनुपात, हमारे जो प्राकृतिक तत्व हैं उनकी संख्या, उनके अनुपात को समझने से ही इसको समझा जा सकता है. तो वह गीत जो कि राग में वैराग्य का प्रतीक है, the Bhagavad Gita. Only there will we be able to find what is involvement in denunciation and denunciation still in involvement, and which is personified in the character of Shri Krishna, who is the, the great guiding force for action. Despite all the desires, the fleshly desires one might come to be occupied with, every individual will ultimately be driven to his destiny, because every individual is just a tool and only a means to serve the ultimate end of buddhi. So the mind has to be the mind which is personified by in the character of Arjun, and the intelligence that is personified in Shri Krishna. We will see them as suggesting to us how the emotional arguments have to be made tranquil, and how one has to see the Sankhya Yoga, the union of the Sankhyas, of the number of things before us, how to unify them to make an intelligence to perceive it all as one. The yoga, the totality, the जो उसका संपूर्ण तत्व है उसकी समझ है इस अध्याय में, जिस अध्याय का नाम द सेकंड चैप्टर, द द्वितीय अध्याय, जिसे हम सांख्य योग के नाम से जानते हैं. सो वी विल एक्चुअली स्टार्ट रीडिंग द चैप्टर 2 from the next session. This is all for today. Thank you.